Sunita, appreciate you joining us. You've been among those who've been screaming from the rooftops year after year, saying that we are heading for a climate emergency. Is there something different that you've noticed this time, just the sheer spread of the nature of the floods across every state of North India?
Absolutely, Rajdeep. This year is devastating. It is catastrophic. And the point is, and that's what we have to understand, that this is about climate change, but this is also not about climate change. Because what we have to understand is that there is so much that we are doing wrong with the way we are doing development, whether it is the fact that we are destroying drainage in Punjab or that we are building like no tomorrow in the Himalayas, which means that the mountains are more and more vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, you're getting intense, frequent, extreme weather events, and that is linked to climate change. So you have to understand, we're sitting on a precipice, and then you get this extreme weather events, mm-hmm. and that's what's driving this massive human tragedy that we are seeing unfolding in front of our eyes. These floods are not about water, they're about the devastation of people's lives, homes, property, development assets, roads, highways, everything getting destroyed.
You know, let's break what you said into the two parts. I want to start with the man-made nature of this tragedy. We've seen this in Himachal Pradesh, encroachments right on the hillsides on the Himalayas. We've seen it in Wayanad last year, where there was this terrible devastation that took place again with landslides. And we've seen it this year again in Punjab, this time encroachments along the floodplains, poor maintenance of embankments, clogged drains in our cities. So are you saying that part of this is man-made and part of it is just is the nature of what climate change is doing to weather patterns?
See, Rajdeep, climate change is a reality. Let's be absolutely sure about that. If you look at this year itself, you are seeing from all government data, you are seeing something very unusual that has happened this year, which is increased frequency of western disturbances during the monsoon period. We always had western disturbances, but not of the number that we are seeing this year. Now, what that is doing is that you have an active monsoon, you get the western disturbance, you get this collision happening, and then you get this massive rainfall. You're also getting our own data. We have been tracking the cloud bursts. Just in the last 2 months, you have got as many as 21 cloud burst instances over the 2-3 Himalayan states. Now, just think about that. That intense frequency and intensity is climate change. When I talk about the western disturbance, Rajdeep, why is this happening? Mm-hmm. It's happening because it is linked to a global phenomena, which is the Arctic jet stream, which is the western disturbances are winds that come from the Mediterranean all the way to India. The weakening of the Arctic jet stream because of climate change means that these systems are getting more and more erratic. And that is linked to climate change. So this is not something you and I can do anything about today. We need to fight it. But clearly we are not cutting emissions at the scale that we can turn this around. But what is adding to it and what is exacerbating this is the fact that we are doing development so badly, Rajdeep. We have to understand that this is going to happen. So if you look at the flooding in Gurgaon, it's not because Gurgaon has got excess rain only. It's also because every drainage system has been deliberately, willfully destroyed. We have not planned for the rains. Now, you can argue you can never plan for this quantity of rains, but we have to start planning and executing. We're doing everything wrong. We are clearing roads in the Himalayas. We are building more and more.
My worry, sorry to stop you for a moment. My worry, Sunita, is that all of this that you're saying, you've said before, experts like you have been banging your heads on the door saying, for God's sake, wake up and smell the rain, if I may use that word. But the truth of the matter is, there is very little happening on the ground. Punjab this time has been completely caught in a way unawares, you could argue, but we've seen that in other states as well. Himachal Pradesh is a disaster now every year. So is Uttarakhand. Last year it was Kerala. I mean, everyone knows the problem. You cannot have encroachments on eco-sensitive areas, on hillsides, on floodplains. It's all known. But do you see anyone moving for a national plan at all?
No, Rajdeep, I think, frankly, I've stopped going on television for this reason, saying, what can you keep repeating? You know that this is happening. The fact is, we have climate change, but that we can do nothing about, but at least you can start accepting the fact that every year extreme weather events are going to increase. You have to accept the fact the Himalayas are the world's youngest mountain range. They are the most vulnerable. You have to start planning for it. Our forecasting systems are down. We do not have enough good forecasting systems. Preparedness has to be improved. Drainage has to be improved. And we cannot build in floodplains, allow encroachment at the scale. Rajdeep, I'm only sharing with you my anguish once again, my sense of frustration to say we have to understand something is changing in our world, and each year it will get worse. You are seeing it. You and I each year are seeing it happen.
Do you believe though that the planning, Sunita, do you believe the planning must be at the state level or the center? Because we've seen part of the problem is that there is absolutely no coordination between the center and states on these critical issues. Now, is decentralization the way forward, making states and even further down districts responsible in a way for this kind of planning? Because the truth of the matter is corruption. A lot of these encroachments, let's be honest, is plain and simple corruption, a brazen violation of all regulations. So it's not more laws, it's implementation. And who does that, center or states?
No, it has to be the state, but Rajdeep, I think we have to go beyond words now. I'm so tired of all these fancy conferences, meetings, discussions on adaptation, resilience, talking about planning for the Himalayas. We have just cleared in principle the Char Dham road across the most vulnerable part of the Himalayas, where deodar trees are going to be cut. Across Dehradun, I'm getting plea after plea from people saying we are cutting more and more trees. Now, roads are needed. Communication is needed, but surely we need to plan better. We need to keep understanding that these are vulnerable regions. This has to be the onus of the state. The state has to understand with each flood, every development dividend is being lost. Today, Rajdeep, the situation is we are building roads and the roads are getting wiped away with every flood, every landslide. We have to understand that this is revenge of nature, and nature is telling us that this is going to get worse every year. And we have to start, as you said, smell the rain. We have to start understanding that this is not going to get better unless we make it better. Whether it's done at the center or state, I don't know. I only know that it's beyond words and conferences and fancy documents. We need it translated on the ground. It's a human tragedy.
Sunita Narayan, strong words from you, and I appreciate you joining us. Always good to have you on TV. These are the voices that we need to hear, and hopefully those in power are listening. Enough of your summits in air-conditioned hotels in the national capital. Go to the ground and make sure there is implementation of the laws that are put in place, particularly in the eco-sensitive zones of this country.